guys have made it to your senior year. Now let's get real. This is where the work really starts.
Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem.
College application time. It is essentially going to be probably the hardest point of your high school career. College applications are a long, super long, overdue process that just takes forever, and essentially it basically determines your fate on if you're going to be experiencing this post-secondary education that America likes to put on us in order for you to live a successful life. Wow. Isn't that just such a mind-boggling thing to think about? When you're only 17 or 18 years old, you have to basically know what you're gonna do for the rest of your life, essentially. Doesn't that just flabbergast some of you? I have my laptop to basically understand what I'm gonna say, and I'm not just gonna be spitting out nonsense. So essentially, college applications start out on this application known as the Common App. I'm sure most of you have heard of it, especially right now, because this is technically when you're supposed to be applying to your colleges. Most colleges will accept the Common App. Some schools are a little bit different, like the UC school system, MIT, Georgetown, and other schools like that only accept their own separate applications, but most colleges will accept the Common App. So you want to make sure that the Common App is good, because a lot of colleges are going to see this. And I think it's really important to kind of make sure that you start this process as early as possible, like now. Actually, like, you should be doing it like right now. You really need to make sure you have all these colleges lined up on your Common App, because it is so important to make sure your Common App is done on time. Please, there are deadlines. As I am holding this planner in my hands, mark down the times when your applications are due, because when those due dates are over, most colleges, it's like, done, that's it, over, O-V-E-R, over. You will literally not be able to submit your application, and that is so bad when all you could have done is just remembered the deadline. So make sure you know your deadlines. And when you go into certain colleges, I'm just gonna go look at, I don't know, this is like a little separate one I made for this video, Northeastern University. Let's look at that. And then it gives you all the information on the school. Tells you the application period for this year would be fall of 2021. It has early decision, early action, regular decision, and early decision 2. Now I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into all of those a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned for that. Next, it has all the application information. So everything from your application fee, standardized testing, courses, grades, letters of recommendation, blah, 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 all that stuff that you need to have. And then other requirements, such as written requirements, like essays, supplements, anything like that will be in this section. So you see for Northeastern, they do require your Common App personal essay, and there are additional questions. There is no writing supplement for this school. So essentially, some colleges will have writing supplements where they have extra essays they want you to fill out, and those are the real killers, because you don't understand how many there are till you actually start doing it. Like, for example, Northeastern has 0, UPenn had 2, Brown had 3, USC had 4. So again, a lot of colleges have different sets of requirements for their application. So it's important to make sure you look on that immediately so you know how much effort and how much time you're going to be spending on each application, so that you're able to pace yourself so you can meet all of those really good deadlines. And what I mean by deadlines, meet the good deadlines. Don't just meet the regular decision deadline. If there is an early action period for your application and you're considering that school to be one of your top choices, you need to apply to early action option, because that not only gets your application in the books for the admissions officers to kind of see, ooh, this person actually really prioritizes me, like this is one of my top choices, but it also gives you your decision a lot earlier. So I certainly was happy when I got early action decisions early, and for me, I applied to a lot of schools early action. So by, I don't know, December, January, I already got admitted to like 8-9 schools with all the rolling admission and early actions that I did. So make sure you take advantage of those, because they are more important than what you may think. Now, in terms of early decision, Do not do this option unless you are for sure going to go to that school. Early decision is for the applicants that prioritize the school as their #1 choice and would do anything to go to that school. It's basically the kiss of death, because if you do get into that school, you are obligated to go. Unless something financially wrong, I only think NYU has that option where you can decline if it's financially too difficult, but most colleges will require you to go, and you have to withdraw all your other applications to any of the schools that you apply to. So you need to make sure that you realize that if you apply early decision, and most ED school deadlines are pretty early, so if you want to get that ED to that dream school of yours, you need to do that early. Now, going on to the next section, letters of recommendation. They are more important than you may think. And when you're asking for these letters of recommendation, you need to start asking your teachers early. And when I mean by early, I mean like August, September is when you need to be asking, so that they have time to write those letters, because it's not just gonna be you that's gonna be asking for these letters. Trust me, I know there's a lot of people that are applying to these schools, applying to colleges, applying to programs that are going to require letters of recommendation. So do that stuff early so you can have your stuff in on time. And for me, that was perfect. I literally got my letters of recommendation within the first few weeks, and I was perfectly happy and fine, and everything worked out pretty perfect for me. So in terms of letters of rec, make sure you also give it to teachers that you have a good relationship with. So for me, I moved in between my my sophomore and my junior year. So in terms of letters of recommendation, it kind of was a little hard for me to find teachers that could really capture me as a student. So I had my AP Lit teacher who I kind of just sort of knew my senior year, which is honestly, that was kind of sketchy, but she wrote a great letter of recommendation, and I kind of knew I had a connection with her, so I asked her to write a letter of recommendation, and she wrote me a wonderful one. I also asked my Algebra 2 teacher. I love her so much. She is literally the best teacher I've probably ever had in my life. She literally was always there for me through thick and thin. I knew she would write me an excellent letter of recommendation, so I asked her. And it wasn't just like we were actually like teachers, we were teacher and student, but we were actually friends. So like the letter of recommendation was more than just my grades. She talked about how like my passion for dance. She talked about how I would come into the classroom and always be welcoming and happy and help people out. Like more than just me as a student, but me as a person, just me by myself, which I think makes you stand out in the applicant pool, because you don't want to just have like a generic letter of recommendation. That it's just so bad. You don't want that. You want to make sure that your letters of rec are very detailed and very representative of you and how you want to become in your college, because eventually the college admissions officers are determining if you're going to get into that school and pretty much determining the course of your life, which is a very scary thought, but yeah. Okay, so now the actual application. Oof. Now the objectives that you kind of want to be thinking of are making sure that every part of your application is correct. You don't want to make anything up. You don't want to lie. You don't want to say I did this and I didn't, because colleges are pretty smart. They can tell if you're just doing stuff for clout or if you actually did this. So make sure you are actually genuine. Colleges can understand that and they will take it out on you. So please, please be truthful on this. So basically it has so many different parts of the application. It has your profile, your family information, education, testing, activities, and writing. And then if they require like courses individually for you to type it in, they'll put that there as well. Some colleges require that, some don't. So just be on the lookout for that, because it's kind of important to make sure you kind of like know all these deadlines. It's so crucial. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into the essays. Let me tell you, that is probably the most important, and I mean most important part of your application is that essay. You have your grades, you have your test scores. What is gonna make you stand out? Your essay. I don't care if you have a 36 on your ACT or a 1600 on your SAT and you got 800s on all your SAT subject tests. I don't give a crap. If your essay is trash and you spend like no time on it, no college is gonna give you worth your time. Like literally, you need to show them that I'm a real person behind the test scores and the grades. And for me, I think that's why I got into as many schools as I did, because my essay was very powerful. If you guys want to know more about my essay and stuff, I will put my how I got into Howard up in the cards up there and in the description. So make sure you look out for that if you really want to know more about my personal essay and all that stuff. But honestly, with your essay, you want to make sure that you are structuring it very well. Common App literally stays the same for every single time they have an essay. So they have like 6-7 prompts on here that you can choose from. It's so important to make sure that you really follow those guidelines in terms of the essays. I think they require at least 250 words, but use all 650 words, please. I literally use 645 words out of 650. So you want to use as many words as possible to convey to the admissions officers your story and who you are as a person, because at the end of the day, the admission officer doesn't want to admit a robot. They want to admit you. So understand that before you think your stats and your grades are for sure going to get you into college, because people have been wrong who have gotten high test scores and high grades and have not gotten into top universities. So please make sure you take your time on your essays. Now I want to start getting into more of the deep stuff. So your actual application itself for the college. You now have finished your Common App, you've done your Common App essay, you have done your education, you've done your testing. Ooh, actually before that, let's get into your extracurriculars. So in terms of your ECs, oof, oh my goodness. This is probably the most important part of your application. I kid you not. Applications of your extracurriculars are going to be so important. So for me, when I put my extracurriculars, a big one was of course dance. I've been dancing for a long time, so dance was a big thing that I put on my common application. Another thing that I put on was I was involved in a community service / college-bound organization called MADIV. That was the second thing right on my list. The third thing was being in thespian troupe, being in my thespian troupe. I literally cannot speak, I am sorry. But anyways, I was involved in a competitive troupe for my senior year and I absolutely loved it. So I put that on my Common App as well. I also put that I was involved in my church. I was in my church choir and my church youth group, so I put that there. I also put that I worked a part-time job. I worked at Zaxby's for about 6 months, so I put that in there as well. And that stuff like that really kind of enhances your application, especially if maybe you're not doing so well academically. Your extracurricular could be like, no, like this is an actual person that's really involved, especially if you're able to do well in school and be super involved extracurricularly. They're gonna most likely admit that person rather than the person that took the easy way out and focused on their grades and maybe did like one thing. Also, in terms of top colleges, getting involved in certain programs can really help or benefit you in a lot of different ways. Like, for example, a girl, I think her name was McKenna Turner, who got into like she got into every school she applied to. But what she did was that she traveled to all those big Advanced Students Weekends. She traveled to all the summer programs at these colleges, and she literally took advantage of her opportunities. And in return, she got accepted into all of those schools. So when I'm telling you that you really need to make sure that you're getting involved, get involved. Especially if you're able to do a summer program at a university, that is like a huge resume booster. Colleges really look at that. If you are doing something like that, that's really great. Or if you're doing any sort of college-bound summer, winter program, anything in your breaks that you're utilizing, colleges do care about that. I know that Princeton and USC have essays specifically saying, what did you do over the summer? What did you do over your breaks? So if you say that you haven't done anything, that's a red flag for colleges and they're less likely to admit you. So try to get involved in summer programs. Actually be involved in your extracurriculars. Do not do it for clout. Because the chances of you getting accepted if you're just doing a bunch of different things but showing no passion in any of them is pretty slim, especially when it comes in regard to scholarships. But if you're involved in say like 3 or 4 things and you really love what you've been doing throughout your high school years, they're more likely to admit you. And for me, I had mainly 3 to 4 things that I really did, and it showed that I had passion and at the end of the day, I feel like that's how I got into all those colleges I got into. And for me, that was so important to make sure my essays were completely clear and had a point to every story. Now the actual application. So you're now in your colleges tab right here. This is where I'm looking right now on my computer. So click on, I don't know, Northwestern. Why not? Let's click here. And now you click onto the questions. And this is what it'll bring up. It'll just bring up all the questions that you'll have, everything that you need to write down. If there's any essays, they'll say it there. If there's extra essays, there'll be a whole section of writing supplements, which most seniors literally dread. I mean, they literally dread having to write extra essays for colleges. I mean, I did, I don't know about you. And then it says basically all your entrance stuff, like entry terms, if you need financial aid. This year, they're being very lucky with test scores because you don't have to send your test scores. So please remember that. You don't have to send your ACT or SAT scores, which can be a pro and a con regarding colleges, especially top colleges. So that could be a con. And next is your academic section. So this is what you want to be studying in your college. Then for Northwestern specifically, they have like an early decision agreement thing. Don't apply there, you know, unless you're for sure gonna go there. An activities section. Now, in terms of activities, some colleges, Northwestern is one of them, that will let you submit a resume. Use that resume spot. Please use that resume spot. If you have a resume, well, actually, if you're a high school senior, you better have a resume because, oh my goodness, it just boosts your application to show that you have an actual resume of things you've actually done. And if you guys wanna have like an example, I'll show you my resume, or literally right here. I'll show my resume right there. And this is the layout that you kind of want to have, and you want to show those admissions officers that I've done things and I've continued to do things, and that's the resume I submitted to college apps. So make sure you're looking at that. Okay, and overall, when you're in the college application process, just be yourself. I cannot stress to you enough that being yourself will be more than enough for these colleges. I know this whole college application system can be very, very grueling, can be very unfair and pretty confusing, but if you use your resources and really just be yourself, in the end, colleges will accept you. And don't think that you're not gonna get into any colleges. There's someone is gonna see something in you. And no matter if you don't get into your dream school, no matter if you don't get into the school that you really thought you were gonna get into, be lucky that you even got into one school, because there could have been a chance, you know, that you couldn't have gotten into any. So be lucky for what you get and take advantage at the university that you are at. And in the end, if you really want to go to that school, you can always go there for graduate school or get a certificate there. So just remember, your first choice doesn't always have to be your first choice right now. Everything happens for a reason. I'm a strong believer in that, and you just need to focus on being yourself. Whew, okay, I think I covered a lot of things that I needed to cover in this video. I hope you guys found this really insightful on the college application process. If you guys want to have more information on, you know, doing well in school and the classes you want to take and all that stuff, leave it in the comments below, and I might make a whole video on how to structure your high school classes and make sure that you are competitive towards colleges. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!